An unforeseen twist of fate unfolded as my friend and I crossed paths at a party. Seizing the moment, I quickly pulled him aside, brimming with urgency. "Pashka, you're exactly who I need. Help me find someone," I exclaimed, causing him to almost choke on his cocktail. "Do you think I work as a private detective?" he retorted, clearly taken aback. "I know you're connected to the district administration. There's a girl I must locate," I pleaded. "Tell me more," he interjected, his curiosity piqued. "Genya and I were inseparable. We shared every experience together, strolling, studying, and cooking as a synchronized duo, our elbows and lips intertwined. Our happiness felt eternal. However, she despised surprises and practical jokes, whereas I thrived on them. Despite this difference, it never hindered our love, until one fateful day, an argument erupted and she stormed off, slamming the door behind her, disappearing into thin air. And thus, our enchanting love story came to an abrupt end. However, I chose not to disclose any of these details to my friend. "Why do you need to find her now?" he inquired. "There was one love, and there will be another," I assured him. "You don't understand. Please, help me find her. Please, haven't you ever been in love?" I pleaded desperately. He shrugged nonchalantly. "Perhaps she's gone abroad. Maybe she's been married for ages and has 5 children. Even if she has 5 children in a year and a half, it doesn't matter to me. If you find her, I'll explain why I need her," I resolved. "All right, I'll give it a shot. Give me the details," he agreed. Time trickled by. Occasionally, I would call him to inquire about any progress, and his responses were always evasive. "It's a slow process. Just be patient," he would vaguely reply. So I waited. 4 months crawled past, and hope began to dwindle. Then, out of the blue, Pasha called me. "I found your girlfriend. Where shall we meet?" he stated, his voice carrying an unexpectedly somber tone. "Oh, thank you," I exclaimed with relief. "Don't be so quick to thank me," he retorted, his voice laced with an unanticipated gloom. He said no more. I invited them to my house, barely able to contain my excitement as I anxiously awaited the evening. My ex-girlfriend, filled with anger, questioned me sharply. "Are you playing another one of your stupid pranks?" she spat. "Hello, Genya," I replied, gazing at her. "Not a single change, and I have a proposition for you." "What proposition?" she snapped. I managed to coax them onto the sofa, even though Pasha remained unfriendly. But I couldn't hold back any longer and began to recite my rehearsed speech. "Do you remember what we promised each other, huh? Oh, you," I turned to Pasha. "We made a pact to be honest with each other. Remember? You see," I continued, "we promised that if we fell in love with someone else, we wouldn't prolong the agony and instead confess immediately, so that it would be once and for all, sparing ourselves the torment of dragging it out." "And so?" blinked my friend. "That's the thing. I had to find Genya and tell her that I had fallen in love with someone else, and we were going to get married. But the wedding had to be postponed because I hadn't fulfilled my promise. Now my conscience is clear, and for the fight we had, please forgive me, okay?" Both of them exchanged bewildered glances. "What's going on?" I asked. "What's the matter?" "It's everything," Genya replied, biting her lip forcefully. Pasha chimed in. "Why didn't you tell me everything from the beginning, you crazy person?" "Why?" I questioned, taken aback. It turned out that Pavel had managed to find Genya's address through official records rather swiftly. He showed up at her house and, to his surprise, realized that she was the love of his life. He couldn't quite explain why, but there was an undeniable connection. Somehow, they met again the following day, and then again, and again. Pavel's conscience, initially protesting, couldn't resist the power of their profound feelings. Waking up in the morning, he found himself thinking only of Genya. Sitting at his office desk, he struggled to focus on work. Even his reflection in the mirror seemed to have her eyes. But what was he to do? Steal his friend's girlfriend? Shameful. Happiness, it seemed, came at a price. After much hesitation, he eventually reached out to me. Genya agreed to accompany him on this journey, to face the test together until the end. I'm worried about Yura. How do I explain everything to him, huh? Pavel fretted. How can you explain love? I sighed. Well, goodbye now, my friend. He may never forgive you. Or maybe he will, Genya pondered thoughtfully. And so, they arrived at my doorstep. Congratulations to you both, I said. Will you come to my wedding? They smiled with relief. Of course, Pasha replied, gently holding Genya's hand. But only if the bride accompanies me. Do you mind? I don't mind. In fact, I wholeheartedly bless it, I responded. And in that moment, the three of us burst into laughter, sharing a joy that seemed to fill the room.
Next great story.
It happened spontaneously, fueled by a dare. Kostya found himself caught up in a timeless trick, as old as the world itself, and it worked like a charm once again. You can't just meet a girl on the street like that, Pasha teased him. Come on, it's easy, Konstantin replied, feigning bravado. Kostya had never had a girlfriend before, not in any sense of the word. His friend, on the other hand, seemed to change girlfriends as often as one changes gloves. They had just finished 8th grade, those were the days, and entered college, thinking they were now adults. They roamed the city, relishing in their newfound adulthood and freedom. I'll introduce myself right now, Kostya interrupted. Glancing around the street, Kostya spotted his first target. 2 girls were walking on the opposite side, clearly students. One of them captured his attention. There was something about this young woman that set her apart from all the others, an enchanting charm. Gathering his courage, he boldly dashed across the road. Hey girls, he almost shouted, approaching the strangers. Let's get acquainted. My name is Kostya. The pretty girls chuckled mischievously. Their laughter was hearty and not meant to be hurtful. It wasn't mockery, but rather a mix of astonishment and playful joy. Come on, my name is Marina. The most beautiful girl introduced herself first. And I'm Nastya, the second girl chimed in. But Kostya's attention had already been completely captured by Marina. Her piercing blue eyes, captivating smile, and the 2 dimples on her cheeks. He hadn't realized it yet, but in that very moment, the first seed of love was taking root within him. It was a love that would be fragile, yet enduring, strong, and immensely complicated. Marina, too, had no idea of the profound impact this chance encounter would have on her life, flattered by the unexpected turn a simple stroll. The conversation didn't flow smoothly at first. Both of them had never encountered such a situation before and were unsure of how to behave. There was an awkward pause. Can I have your phone number? The boy asked, growing bolder, hardly believing it himself. Sure, Marina responded, providing her home number. After walking 100 meters together, they went their separate ways. That evening, Kostya, trembling with excitement, dialed her number. To his disappointment, an adult male voice answered. However, upon requesting to speak with Marina, he received an affirmative response. And there, through the receiver, he could sense her cheerfulness and enthusiasm. The barely acquainted boy and girl spent the entire evening engaged in lighthearted conversations about various trivial matters. It turned out to be a fascinating twist of fate. Marina's parents happened to be Germans, preparing to return to their historic homeland. In those tumultuous days of the collapsed USSR, life was far from comfortable and many sought to leave, rediscovering their half-forgotten roots. Interestingly enough, Kostya, despite growing up without his father, also had German heritage. His mother, too, had applied for the same purpose. As days stretched into weeks, time seemed to fly by like sparks from a fire. Kostya and Marina spoke on the phone every night, always finding new topics to discuss. They enjoyed each other's company and felt at ease together. On weekends, they went for walks, and Kostya did his best to court Marina. They were both elated and in love. Meanwhile, the paperwork for their departure was swirling in the background. 3 years passed in the blink of an eye. Time has a way of changing people, and not all changes are for the better. Marina's love for her boyfriend grew stronger with each passing day. Every meeting felt like a celebration to her. She had never anticipated such anticipation for someone before. However, Kostya struggled in the relationship. He was charming and popular among girls, and this began to take its toll on him. He started going out more frequently, not to see his girlfriend, but to impromptu gatherings with friends and easygoing girls. These encounters were not always innocent, but Kostya didn't think much of it, believing it was just how things were supposed to be, especially since he was about to join the army. However, actions have consequences, and it didn't take long for the consequences to catch up with him. Igor was deeply annoyed by the situation. Why should someone else have a ticket to prosperous and wealthy Germany while he was left with nothing? This perceived injustice tormented him relentlessly, giving rise to a logical and seemingly legal plan. All he had to do was marry a German woman who had the opportunity to leave for Germany, thus escaping this agonizing country. Marina was the perfect candidate. Igor witnessed how she suffered from the ups and downs of love. In such cases, a person becomes especially vulnerable. It didn't matter that she already had a boyfriend, he would get over it somehow. Igor and Kostya had crossed paths before in social gatherings, but he dismissed any concerns. He began subtly courting Marina, driven by calculated and cold intentions. Kostya missed the gradual erosion of his relationship. He was too caught up in his own pursuits. He tried to make up for lost time, heedless of the consequences. Marina, yearning for love, happiness, and joy, akin to her experiences with Kostya, readily accepted Igor's advances. He seemed willing to offer everything she desired. Slowly but surely, Igor's efforts bore fruit. Soon he started visiting Marina's house when her parents were absent, as they strongly disapproved of him. Older individuals are often wiser and more perceptive than the young. But Igor was not one to give up easily. Marina, naively trusting him, fell into his carefully laid trap. Victory seemed within reach. Igor took the gamble. On a day when Marina was alone at home, he went to visit her. Everything unfolded according to plan. At precisely the right moment, he embraced her, kissed her when appropriate. Marina herself couldn't comprehend how they ended up in bed together, with Igor becoming the first man in her life, in every sense of the word. "I don't want you to leave," the guy lied convincingly afterward. "Let's stay here. I'll marry you." Marina remained silent, her gaze fixed on the ceiling. Doubt not,